Hey, welcome to another edition of Breaking Protocol from the Razzle Dazzle Show, our ongoing miniseries where we break down key updates and design questions straight from the development of Shade Protocol. These episodes are built around the game's community engagement series Devs Ask You, or DAUs, where Kendall and the team not only show us changing, but invite fans to shape the journey with them. The team is toying with how to bring big cinematic combat movements to the forefront of gameplay, without making them feel too rare or disconnected from player control. In this episode, we'll explore the concept, the inspiration, and how the community weighed in on what makes a satisfying ultimate ability in a Metroidvania. Be sure to follow us and Little Legendary on our socials and YouTube channel, and be sure to join the Shade Protocol Discord server to follow new DAUs, vote in polls, and share your voice directly with the dev team. Links to everything will be in the description down below, and with all that being said, it's Razzle Dazzle time! So right off the bat, Kendall, I just want to ask, what inspired the idea for Harmonies? Was there a specific game or genre that influenced their design? Not many Metroidvanias are known to have a like giant ultimate, maybe screen nuke ability, so why try to integrate that with Shade Protocol?
Valkyrie freaking profile. Nothing else. I mean, that is such a when I was younger and I got to experience those kind of RPG moments of this lady is just jumping and they're summoning this huge spear and throwing it. I said, I have to do that. It just has to happen. And of course we did in the first trailer. If you saw the first trailer, we did an homage. That's a respectful way of kind of tipping the hat to Valkyrie profile, which is a huge inspiration for one of the huge inspirations for Zura, one of many. And we wanted to pay respect to that. But there's so much more that we want to do. So Harmonies is a very difficult system that we are not fully decided in yet in terms of how it's going to work, which is a beautiful thing because it means we are working on making it the best possible version that it could be. So we'll probably have to do one more of this in the future. But the current state of the inspiration is, can we make the player feel incredibly powerful for a couple of seconds in such a way that they get to enjoy the breadth of our pixel art? Like we get to just make you feel epic and you just feel crazy strong for a moment. You're just having the best time. And when you're dealing with bosses, it actually matters. But if you don't use them in bosses, you're not dying, right? It's not the end of the world. So we have to balance it that way. So the inspiration comes from, can it be kind of like Valkyrie profile or kind of like, Final Fantasy VII Omni/slash moments, but not be Quadra Magic, double summon Bahamut, right? We don't want you to hit the button and then go make yourself a sandwich, eat it, come back, and then
Quad Knights of the Round Table.
Right? Oh yeah, that's an even better example.
A 7-minute cutscene.
Yeah, we don't want that necessarily.
Oh my god!
So it's got to be fast and effective, but it's got to be definitely spectacular and the kind of stuff that you don't get tired of. And the also last thing I'll say, there is one gift that I'm in love with. Is from I think it's Final Fantasy. I don't know. It's not 14. I think it's 12. I don't know. It's the one where you're Noctis, which is
15.
I should know this.
15. That's 15.
People are gonna kill me. It's okay. I just don't remember. But that one there is a moment. There's this gift that it shows the Noctis kind of doing this more senior version, kind of doing this ability where you see all the royal arms around him.
Yeah.
And they just appear. I always felt in my I wish that was a selection system, like an actual system that you could scroll through them and they could feel like that. It's more like a really beautiful thing that happens, and it's so fast you don't really use it for that. But that was the original design of what if we got inspired by that and then we make a version where Zura literally strikes a pose like, and the game slows down, and then you see all of the instruments as code, and then you're kind of flipping through them and picking the one you want, and then when you hit go, like she summons that instrument from nowhere, like it just appears, like it falls, like the spear falls like it pretty much breaks the sky and appears there, or the axe falls straight
Right.
down,
You're
or whatever.
summoning the weapons. Yeah.
Yeah, you're summoning the weapon, but you're pretty much saying which one do you want, right? And it's this sense of like, do you see all of them, right? Like an orchestra, and then you're picking the one that you want. I love that fantasy. Um, that's not how we've showed it in the trailer for now, because in the trailer it's much more like it's meant to be more of the playable, high speed. You know, you're doing it in the moment and you're doing it quick. Um, but that might come back at
Hmm.
some point. So yeah, inspirations, I would say that gift from that pretty much that one, 3-second animation from Final Fantasy 15, Omni Slash for sure, a lot of anime, way too much anime, and Valkyrie Profile would be great examples of what Harmony should look like.
A side thing. I don't remember if Knights of the Round is in Final Fantasy VII Remake or Rebirth, but I would love to see in like the third part, like a full animated cutscene at least once of like all like that entire sequence, just like HD and like not polygons. Oh my god, I'd love to see it. Anyways, uh, I love this. Okay, so in regards to harmonies, they are the ultimate abilities, screen nukes maybe, of each individual instrument slash weapon. Each one has its own unique thing, has its own unique harmony. We've seen two as of recording in both trailers. Um, and this is weird because we're recording this before we know, one, how many instruments in total that there are in the final game, and two, just plain old information out of all the weapons. How do you go about planning and balancing what kind of powers each harmony will have depending on its weapon and instrument varieties? Will they have different effects? Will they all be a screen nuke? Like, what makes them different than the others?
So that has always been like an internal conflict for me, because the main thing is I like the idea of the player being able to choose the harmony they want to use versus the game choosing for them, right? So I think that's an important thing for me. I like that idea. Um, but if they're all the same, if they do the same thing, then there's very little reason to choose, right?
Right.
So that means we would have to make them unique, and that's a lot of work. So we do have some ideas of how to do that, but of course, whenever you give me something like that, like, oh, well, then they should be unique. Then I say, well, I mean, if they're unique, then one is going to be better than the other at a certain moment, which is great, by the way. That's not a bad thing. But we don't want one to be better than the others at all time. We want, like, if something clears the screen, it, that's better than something that clears the bottom of the screen, right? So, we need to be kind of careful with that, and then that means that maybe they don't clear the screen and they just do certain amount of damage to enemies everywhere if it hits the entire screen, and then the ones that don't do more damage. But then whenever you have a boss, of course you're not going to use the screen wide because you know where the boss is, etc. So it's a lot of considerations to be done, and we have an idea of how to deal with this now. So I'm happy to tell people what we're thinking. This is not necessarily how it's going to be. So one of the ideas is that each instrument does something materially different in terms of its harmony. So they all do a type of damage, and I'll tell you more about that in a moment, and a type of effect. So each one of the ones, I was about to say the number. You almost got me. You almost got me. I'm gonna say 5. We have 5 right now, right? Yes, we've revealed 5. So of the 5 instruments we've revealed, each one of those is gonna have something different. But then the problem is that I want them to level up. So
Whoa.
I want the harmonies to get stronger through the game, because I want the harmonies to the version of the spear harmony that we showed Um, People love it, deeply love it. Like I think it's one of the most loved things, other than like the wall cut and the chakram. But it's not enough. It's too baby. It needs to it needs to
So
not be baby.
I'm sorry.
So
Just so I can understand this, you want harmonies okay. First of all, I'm gonna use the axe harmony as an example that we see at the end of the second trailer. Already, Zura is breaking the background, the fabric of reality right now, and tearing it apart like paper. And you want that to be stronger?
yeah. My dream is that each harmony has like at least, oh man, it's dangerous. My hope is that the harmonies have 3 levels. That's my dream.
Wow.
But that is a lot of animation work. So what we're doing, we don't know. We don't know if we're going to do that, right? Right now, I'm sure if I go to my team and we like were to make a decision today, we would only make the one, right? And we would probably improve the ones that you've already seen, to match like the image in my head of what they need to be. But there are in my dream. So I'll tell you my dream. In my dream, there's 3 levels of the harmony. So there's the level that you guys have seen. There's a level above that that is just much stronger, in terms of like, I guess like that's the final version, we'll call it. Is this level 2, and then the third one is not really of the instrument. It's a combination. So it's when
Oh
we
my
get
god.
into, because that's the word, right? Harmony. So the idea is that eventually you'd be able to use like 2 instruments combined, but
Dude.
they're fixed. They're fixed. You don't get
Yeah,
to,
yeah,
I don't like, we can't do permutations here of like,
yeah.
but an idea of something that I've always thought about is like, the what if like when you're doing the spear, right? The spear, right now you throw it and it's really epic, right? In the future, like what if like, oh, because there's something that people know but they don't really know because we don't do this very often. But each instrument, is named after a time of the day. So they're not called the spear's not called the flute spear. This is how
Right.
we call it in the Discord server. But you know
Nightfall Shield.
the Nightfall Shield, the Twilight
Yeah.
Spear. They have they're
Twilight
named after a
Spear.
moment of the day. And that is something that I want to bring in at some point into, and not necessarily like, we're gonna like the moment that you use, I don't know, the spear, we're gonna see a bunch of like glittering vampires. But what I mean
Harmonic
more is
Eclipse or something.
yeah, like if you have one that's like Nightfall, right?
Yeah.
That should tell you kind of how I imagine. Like that should already give you like, oh, that's how the final harmony of the shield needs to look, right?
Mm.
It's this dream of like, Nightfall. I get that's such a beautiful thing to just imagine, and it's so unbecoming of a shield, right? Like that's not what the shield is normally connected to. Things like the light, right? This this idea of like, the defender, or the
Sure.
good thing. But what if it's like a different thing? What if it was like, Nightfall? Like I don't want to say any more about that, but conceptually, that I can't do just one. I gotta do a bunch of them because I want to see like the greatness in that. But going back to the spear, if the first version is what we have, and then the second version was like something that is more related to its time of day, as in like it brings some aspect of that into it, right? Um, I'm tempted to tell you about the chakram one so that it makes a lot more sense, but that's coming later. So with the spear, something that could be bled that has to do with the time of day. It's hard to explain, but there's certain like color themes of that time of day. There's certain things that are happening during that time of day in the world that we could affect the environment with. Like we could do very cool things with that concept, and make it like a lot more powerful, right? The explosion, the charge of time, the juice of the effect, all that, right? And then that could be like, it maybe hits for a lot more damage. It hits in a wider area. It can hit more enemies, whatever. But then the third idea, this is not a real one. This is just something I'm saying out of nowhere, right? What if like the third one, which is the 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 combination one, when you throw the spear, you throw it into like the chakra, and then it appears again from another portal, and then it goes into the chakram again, and it goes again and again and again and again. It's like getting speed, right? So
Yeah,
it's
yeah,
like
yeah.
going
Particle
through a portal
accelerator. Love it.
and getting like exactly like a particle accelerator thing, and then eventually it kind of goes off, right? So that is like a very spectacular thing that we could put a lot of sound to. We could put a lot of, visual power to. That's like a dream of mine of making the end state of Harmonies um, more than one instrument. Just imagine that. Like imagine that feeling of like you throw your spear instead of like just going boom, right? Going like doop, 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 and then you get this massive effect. Um, Still, we're not going once again into like Knights of the Round length time. We're not really improving the time that it takes for the effect to happen by too much. It's still meant to be kind of quick, but the moments of the breadth of animation is going to be a lot more spectacular for higher levels if we decide to do that, right? At this
Right.
time, we don't have the resources to do anything but one, but the dream would be to do three. If not, we could always cut the middle and then just do, the first level of all of them and then do the combinations. And the combinations wouldn't be that many, right? Because then, depending on how many instruments we have, then we can make only so many combinations and that's it. So not bad, but yeah, that's the long-winded answer to that for sure.
I assume that if there were to be three tiers of harmonies for whatever meter you have to build up, like your shade meter, your harmony meter, whatever it's called, to use these attacks, I would assume it'll work like Marvel vs. Capcom 2, like it stacks, right? Like so you have like level 1 charge and then level 2 charge and level 3 charge and like it charges up by like, hitting enemies, killing enemies, whatever. That's how I see it just from that idea, and I think that's very, very interesting. How do you have like a current concept on like I guess limiting or how often players can use these harmonies, like a meter, like I mentioned?
Yeah, so we are toying with this a lot because it's not something that we're really fighting the player's intent to grind.
Right.
We don't want that. We really don't want that. And I know a lot of people say, well, but I'm okay with that. But we don't really want that for you. We want you to be able to play the game and just have a blast. And not have to feel like, oh, there's a boss room right there. So, I have half harmony meter. I have to go and fight a bunch of enemies to get harmony so that I could go to the boss and then die because I didn't, do something right. And then I have to go and charge up my harmony again to go back in. So one of the things we're doing is, and this is lore, but people already know this, and it's a good thing for people to know. But the game starts. You already are in. I'm going to use the word infected. I
Yeah.
don't think
You are
of the
shaded.
shape protocol. Yeah, you're shaded. I don't think about the shape protocol as a virus, but
Yeah.
I think people will for a while until they know more. But we'll use that language for now for simplicity's sake. But you start the game already infected with the shape protocol. This thing is inside you already, and it's it's the entire theme of the game, right? Where this relationship between you and the protocol, you being pretty much designed to originally modulate and pretty much live in symbiosis with the protocol, but you definitely can't. You're definitely failing, right? So that's like already the lore of the story is you start by being by pretty much you already failed. That this is already done and over with. But the concept is because this thing is inside you and it is trying to slowly get out. Um, your systems are preventing it from letting it go rampant and do whatever it wants. But the more it does take over, the more powerful you become. Um, and that, but it also shows up in the UI. It's a very diegetic thing. I really love that. So I'll give you an example. Let's say you in the prior recording that we did about the protocols, one example was you'll find maybe like a robot, like a replica that is like holding like a little girl, right? And the robot is dead, and there's the little girl, and then you save the girl. But one of the things that happens, which I love, is that whenever you approach a human, for example, your shade bar, which is your resource of shade, will start filling up very, 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 very quickly, and it'll start pulsing, and it'll start like pretty much like telling you, "I want to get out," because the shade protocol has only one directive: to eradicate humanity. So this is a diegetic way of Zura seeing you, the player, seeing that Zura is struggling to hold the protocol in her, right? So whenever you are in the world, and this shade bar starts filling up rampantly and it starts pulsing, there's a human nearby. And these are kind of things that we want to do in order to give more flavor to the game at very little consequence, right? But this protocol, I don't want to get into it in a way that makes people think too much about it. But one of the things is this protocol is incredibly possessive. It wants you. It's going to have you. It is decided that you belong to it. So whenever you get to a boss fight, this thing inside you wants to protect you, right? It will not allow anyone to have you. So by consequence, that's part of the justification that we use, that whenever you start a boss battle, your entire shade bar gets full, your entire harmony resource gets full, and you start the fight with everything other than your health, right? If you enter with low health, then that sucks, and then you die and you don't come back, right? But we might even like heal you. We might even do that, like in order to give you like the fair, like the what the protocol would do if it was truly trying to keep you alive, but it doesn't have the power to control you, like as in like make you run away or not fight the boss or say let me fight it, right? None of that. So because of this, I think it's a good way of making the feeling of we don't make you grind for it. So that's not what you're asking, but it solves one problem of the equation, which is if there's a resource, how do we prevent it from being something that players struggle to gain in that side. The second part of it is what about in the world whenever we're running around. So right now it's kind of like a we have it. We don't know how we're going to design it visually, but right now we have it like it's kind of like a liquid. It's intentionally like meant to be like we have like a sphere that's kind of filling up with this thing, and it's mostly like a representation of liquid code, which kind of the idea of like something like just growing and more of it. But it's kind of not a bad representation for it. Eventually we'll design something completely fitting of harmonies that is more musical. But the idea is that eventually you'll get this resource that goes up on its own all the time, very slowly. Whenever you attack enemies, you get more of it, and it keeps going up. And there are certain things you can do to like kind of kaioken your way into raising this resource, but not so much, right? It's not something that you want to have all the time, but we want you to be able to use this in the world. We just don't think that we want to make it so available to you that every time you're facing a new enemy that it's kind of difficult, you just press this button and auto win. So that's one of the reasons why we are considering making it boss only. But I'm deeply against that. I would like to have harmonies work anywhere in the world, because it also gives you this ability to whenever you are going back to a place that let's say you're backtracking to look for something that you missed or whatnot, and you're seeing a lot of enemies that are by now not as strong as you, and you don't really need to fight them. If there's too many of them, you just press the button, right? So it's actually a way of making the game go a little faster and be more respectful of your time. But I'm not sure. I honestly, at this point, we know we want them in the game. Right now, they are definitely going to be there for bosses, and they have very particular uses for bosses that we can definitely talk about. But for the world, we are not 100% sure how we're going to implement them. If they're going to be like Prince of Persia style kind of special counters that you do, or if they are a button that you press and then you pick an instrument and then you just do it and then you just very slowly reach it. So we're not 100% sure, but we're looking for feedback for sure.
This has been another episode of Breaking Protocol from the Razzle Dazzle Show. Want to help what Shade Protocol becomes? Join the Shade Protocol Discord server to follow new DAUs, vote in polls, and share your voice with the dev team directly. Go follow Shade Protocol on Kickstarter, and if you like this breakdown, check out our past spotlights and interviews with Kendall right here on the Razzle Dazzle Show. Remember, the future of Emeria is still being written.